The theme of this week is the heartfulness, or the heartful qualities of mindfulness. So our practice tonight will be loving kindness meditation and talking a little bit about the attitudes that we're cultivating or learning how to cultivate when we're learning the skills of mindfulness. So, and also we'll have another webinar few weeks out that will speak specifically about the heart of mindfulness and delve into that a little bit more. So, but first things first, so last week we observed thoughts and feelings. You know, we cultivated awareness through our practice with that. And then we also had the option of eating one meal mindfully over this past week. And I just want to check in and see if anybody was able to attend to either of those activities. And I'd love to hear what it was like for you if you did. Either one, anything else that's related to what we've been learning. But if you could focus on those two, I'd love to hear what that was like for you.
So for me, I tapped into the observing thoughts and feelings. And I used that imagery of sitting on the bank that we had used and watching them go by, and and everything that we practiced. And I found myself using that pretty much every day, especially when I was trying to sleep, because I would catch my mind racing, and I would remind myself that I decide which thoughts hook me and which ones don't. And to help release the thought, I remember to do the imagery of sitting on the bank, and I found that to be very encouraging for me.
Excellent. Good to hear. Can you tell me a little bit, did you notice, were there patterns in what got you hooked? Like, did you notice things that were sticky for you?
No. And that's probably because I just wasn't paying that close attention to the pattern. I guess I was more caught up in the moment of just trying to stay unhooked.
Yeah.
But I'll work on that.
It's just, and not to put any pressure on your practice, but when you notice you get hooked, you can take a moment to like, okay, what was that? What was that thing that pulled me down the stream? Just to start kind of understanding where our habits of mind are. It's just something you can look at. Anything else you observed?
No, but this class that you guys are talking about, sign me up now. So
excellent.
I mean, this has been a real blessing for me and my family, and learning how to deal with this stuff and learning more about mindfulness is something I've wanted to do for a really long time. And now this introduction is just making me want more. So I'm excited that there's an opportunity.
Great. Great. It'd be great to have you. It'd be great to have you. And I really appreciate your engagement. It makes so much of what makes these classes interesting and engaging and viable is when people are bouncing off one another in terms of, oh yes, I know what that's like, and yes, I know what that's like. Yeah, so thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, anyone else want to share?
Yeah, this is Greg. I've been to, let me make sure the volume's down, but I've been to Zen sittings in the past, and so that was years ago. And so this mindfulness is a way for me to reconnect with that, because I've really enjoyed that. There's a word for the eating ceremony, but that's the 3 bowl is, I really enjoyed that. And this week, as far as the assignment, I didn't do very good. I mean, I would start and then my mind would wander, but I did work on that, and it's going to be for me, it's going to be a journey to relearn and unlearn the bad habits.
Mhm. Yes. Yes. And know that it's I mean, it's a journey. It really is. It is. That's why we call it a practice. Yeah, because we never really graduate. We never really graduate. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. Anyone else want to share? Okay. All right.
Okay.
Well, I will,
Okay.
oh, go ahead. Was somebody else going to say something?
Sounded
I
like
think
somebody.
I was trying to. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yes.
Debbie, thank you.
Apparently somehow I muted and unmuted and muted and unmuted again. So I don't know. I was trying to do the mindfulness eating part because I really feel like I kind of sort of came to the group on the healthcare provider side when you guys were including us, you know, in this in these sessions. And I feel like everything in my life is just hurried and unfocused and not mindful. And so all these sessions have been really good in order to slow down and really, I guess, kind of, I don't know, find some centering to myself so that I can be of more benefit to everyone else.
Mhm.
And as I was doing trying to be mindfulness with eating, I just realized that's when I thought I'm really not mindful with anything I do. I mean, and I know that sounds terrible. I mean, I obviously attempted it but I feel like just I'm rushing through everything in life. And so I think what the sessions have given me is that I really do need to slow down and, just become more thoughtful about the things that I'm doing. I mean, I feel like I'm thoughtful, but I'm not thoughtful in kindness to myself. So, and that's it's been very beneficial. So I do appreciate because I think that just that awareness is a very good place to start.
Bravo, Debbie. Bravo. Yes. Because in fact, the fact that you have, what I hear you saying is you have some awareness around that taking care of you is important, that it's
Right,
important, right? I mean, that's what I hear you, like, I need to take care of me.
right. And I think that I've been taking care of everyone. We've had all of our adult parents, health issues and lots of stuff in the last 5 or 6 years. And I realized even like this week I was going back looking for history on an appointment for myself and realized I've taken my mom to all these appointments and not gone to one doctor's appointment for myself. I'm like, really, I mean, and that's a little off topic, but it kind of just speaks to the whole thing. And so I'm very appreciative to have been a part of the sessions because I think that awareness gives me something to build on to go forward. And it's funny that you mentioned the other sessions because I had already researched on your website, Amy, the other classes that you teach because I thought, okay, now I kind of feel like I'm getting started. Where do I go from here? So.
Well, I hope you will, if we can make the MBSR, the mindfulness-based stress reduction class go, I think you should jump on board if you can make that work. I think that would be a great deeper dive for you.
Yeah, I think that anyway, so I am really appreciative for the information and for the beginnings of the building of awareness of where I am and where I need, where I feel like I have the basics of the tools. I don't know if I know how to use them at this point, but I feel like that seeing that they're there, I feel like that is a huge benefit. So
Yes, that awareness, that's the power, right? Like the awareness is, this is what's here.
true,
Like
because
now
if
you
you
have
don't,
something.
because if you don't know that, I mean, I'd always heard the word mindful. I mean, I've heard the word mindfulness, you know, and I kept thinking I need to figure out what that is.
Yeah.
So it's been very beneficial. So I guess I'll
Good.
share the floor with others. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Debbie. I think that that's a wonderful net to cast for everybody, is that, you know, even if there's awareness of areas where there's challenge, the awareness is what is the beginning of change, because you can't change anything without awareness. If you don't know it exists, how do you change it? So yes, that is the power right there. She just named it. And I hope, you know, even if there are challenges that arise as you go through this class or as you move forward, just know that if you have the awareness that it's there, you have power. Like, the awareness is the power. It's the thing that will start the process of unfoldment, transformation, growth. It all has to start with awareness. That's mindfulness. Thank you. Did anybody else want to share? Okay. So let's move into some practice. So tonight's practice is loving kindness. And this is the heart of mindfulness, or one of the things that we're learning how to do to, if you'll remember way back to the first class, if you were here for it, you know, when we defined what mindfulness was, you know, it's being present in a particular way on purpose, in the present moment, with an attitude of non-judgment. And the non-judgment piece, these heart qualities of mindfulness, you know, are about cultivating this non-judgmental awareness. It's learning, it's being relational in our lives, both to what's happening internally and externally with a different orientation that many of us walk around with. So we're orienting, we're learning this non-judgmental attitude, and the heart-based qualities of mindfulness really help to cultivate and foster these qualities within us. You know, so much of the practices that we've learned so far is really about, one, stabilizing the mind, you know, creating stability for the mind, and then also attending to what we're feeling in the body, the emotions we're experiencing, and the thoughts that we're having. Like, that's where we've spent the last 3 weeks. And so now this practice this evening is about, in a sense, remembering our capacity to be heartful, to be filled with positive feelings. And hopefully it's coming in at a good time for you. You know, when we start practicing mindfulness, a lot of times what we're initially starting to notice is perhaps what we don't do well, what we're not taking care of. You know, like, we start to cultivate a lot of awareness around the places in our lives where we may have some ouches, you know. So hopefully these heartfelt qualities that we'll work on this evening will help to kind of buoy you up when it's challenging. You know, I want to talk about the ways that we support ourselves and how we're relating to what's happening. Because oftentimes when we start to get in touch with what's happening on the inside, if we've not been attending to this part of ourselves, this inner world, we may bump up against things that feel uncomfortable. And so we need to start learning how to, like, soothe ourselves, you know, be kind to ourselves, be friendly to ourselves. So the practice tonight is loving kindness. Now, typically, like, the full format of a formal loving kindness practice typically includes 5 people. It typically includes ourselves, a loved one, a benefactor, so somebody who's been of benefit to us in our lives, a mentor or something like that, what we refer to as a familiar stranger. So that may be somebody that you see in your daily life that you don't necessarily have a relationship or connection to. And so, like, maybe the person who checks you out at the grocery store when you go to the grocery store, or the bus driver, or, you know, somebody you see in daily life that you don't necessarily engage with regularly. And then the final person in that 5-person loving kindness practice is typically a difficult person. for our purposes this evening, we are just going to focus on a loved one and ourselves. Okay, this is where we start. This is where our practice starts. So with that in mind, I just want to remind people of that window of tolerance as we practice, you know, self-monitoring to make sure, checking in, make sure your arousal level is manageable, and taking any steps you need to take to care for yourself if you find that you need to take care of yourself. Opening the eyes, moving the body, placing awareness somewhere else, perhaps on the breath or the hands or the feet. But doing what you need to do to take care of yourself as we go through this practice. And follow along as best you can. What we'll be doing is I'll be sharing some phrases with you, and you'll just be repeating them silently to yourself. So just follow along the best you can. And let's see. I guess that's all you need to know. I'll just put up a screen so you don't have to see my mug if your eyes are open. I think, yes. Let's do this. I'm going to turn my camera off. So I'll use my chimes to begin and end. And as I said, just follow along as best you can. I encourage you to get into a seated position that's comfortable for you. And we'll do this practice probably about 10, 15 minutes. So shutting down the eyes if that's comfortable for you, or leaving them open and just softening your gaze and placing it in front of you a few feet. And we'll begin just by noticing the body sitting, feeling the points of contact that the body makes with the chair or the floor. Noticing the support that's beneath us. Sitting with a sense of poise. So sitting with a sense of awakeness, but not rigidity, allowing for some flexibility in the spine. So this practice of loving kindness that we'll work on this evening together is really about cultivating positive feelings for ourselves and a loved one. Recognizing this innate capacity we have to generate positive feelings. That if we attend with intention to cultivate loving kindness, that we can actually bring those feelings to the surface for ourselves or for somebody else. And this is simply about sending well wishes, positive regard, friendliness to ourselves and somebody we care for. So taking a moment here to just feel into the breath moving through the body. Allowing the breath to move into the body and out of the body. And when you're ready to do so, bringing your attention to the area around the center of the chest. So in the area of the heart. Just beginning by sensing into this area of the body. Noticing what it feels like here in the center of the chest. Perhaps feeling pressure or warmth, a sense of expansiveness or tightness. Just noticing what's here in this moment, not trying to create anything in particular, just noticing, being with whatever sensations are apparent to you in this moment in the chest. If it's helpful to you, you may also choose to place a hand or both hands over this area of the body, just to feel that point of connection. Completely optional. But as you begin to resonate with this area of the body, I'd also ask you to call to mind a loved one. Someone for whom you have a fairly relatively easy relationship with. So this can be a friend or a life partner, it can be a child. We just want to pick a relationship that's not terribly complicated for you, okay? It could also be a furry friend, a pet. Someone you hold some affection for. Someone who's easy to love. Someone whose presence brings a smile to your face. And so just imagining this person in front of you. Imagine them sitting in front of you, smiling. And really allowing their embodiment to come into your field of imagination. And just notice how it feels to be in their presence. Perhaps you notice a smile coming to the face or some warmth gathering within the body. So just noticing whatever's there. And I'm going to begin sharing some phrasing with you that you can just repeat silently in your mind, extending some well wishes to this loved one that sits in front of you. As you're ready, repeating these phrases silently to yourself, extending them outward to your loved one. May you be safe and protected. May you be happy and peaceful. May you be healthy and strong. May you live with ease and well-being. May you be safe and protected. May you be happy and peaceful. May you be healthy and strong. May you live with ease and well-being. And now taking a moment just to check in with yourself and noticing how these words resonate for you as you extend them out to this loved one. And you can choose to use my phrasing or your own phrasing. You can repeat just one word. but allowing these well wishes to come from you to this loved one, and noticing how your heart responds to this gift that you offer. May you be safe and protected. May you be happy and peaceful. May you be healthy and strong. May you live with ease and well-being. May you be safe and protected. May you be happy and peaceful. May you be healthy and strong. May you live with ease and well-being. And once again, just noticing how this feels. Notice how this resonates for you, for these words to come from your heart and extending to this loved one. And when you're ready, we're just going to allow this image of this loved one to dissolve in our mind's eye, letting go, releasing that image. It's interesting to consider how all beings, all human beings, really long for the same things. We all seek a sense of safety in the world. We all seek peace and happiness. We all value health and desire a life with a sense of ease and purposefulness. These are kind of universal qualities of being human. And these desires, these very human desires, belong to us as well. So now we're going to bring our attention to ourselves in relationship to this practice. And there's a couple different ways you can attend to this. You can allow these phrases to just sink into yourself as you are in this moment. You also have the option of bringing to mind an image of yourself at a time in your life when perhaps you needed some loving kindness. A point in your life when you needed these words of care and friendliness. So if you want to explore with that, just bring that image of yourself in front of you. Or just attending to yourself as you are today, whatever resonates for you in this moment. Choosing something that doesn't feel overwhelming. And once again, just taking a moment to feel into that heart space and what you've been able to cultivate thus far. And now extending these phrases of loving kindness towards yourself as you are today or as you have been in the past. May I be safe and protected. May I be happy and peaceful. May I be healthy and strong. May I live with ease and well-being. May I be safe and protected. May I be happy and peaceful. May I be healthy and strong. May I live with ease and well-being. And taking a moment here, noticing how this feels, how this resonates within your heart and body and mind. This may feel unfamiliar, awkward, challenging. Perhaps it's welcomed. Whatever it is for you, just know that that's okay. Wherever you find yourself in this moment, just holding the intentions of having a sincere desire to extend loving kindness to yourself. Allowing that to be the charge of your practice right now, however it's showing up. Just noticing what's here and continuing with these phrases of loving kindness. May I be safe and protected. May I be happy and peaceful. May I be healthy and strong. May I live with ease and well-being. May I be safe and protected. May I be happy and peaceful. May I be healthy and strong. May I live with ease and well-being. And just knowing how things are for you now, feeling into whatever's alive in this moment, in your heart, in your body, in your mind, allowing it all to be here. And allowing yourself grace. Just being with your good intentions. So we'll allow this image of ourselves when you're ready. If you've been holding an image of yourself at another time in your life, allowing that image of yourself to dissolve, letting go. And with the intention of extending this loving kindness that we've generated through this practice, extending it out to everyone in our home, our community, our workplace, and extending even further out into our communities, states, into our nation, and throughout the world, recognizing that everyone wishes for these qualities in their lives. So extending these well wishes to everyone, may we all, everyone everywhere, be safe and protected. May we all be happy and peaceful. May we all be healthy and strong. And may we all live with ease and well-being. And as you're ready to do so, just bringing your awareness back to the body sitting, feeling the support beneath you, points of contact, the breath. And knowing if this practice was challenging, just knowing that holding the intentions of cultivating loving kindness and allowing yourself to be just as you are, giving yourself that space, is the embodiment of loving kindness. And as you're ready, opening your eyes and just taking a moment to orient to the space that you're in, maybe moving your vision away from the screen for a moment and just taking a look at the room that you're in this moment. Noticing what's there to be seen. And when you're ready to do so, bringing your eyes back to the screen. So from here, I'd be interested to see if anybody would like to share about that practice, what that was like for you.
I noticed when, as this went on, when you said put your hands on your chest, I put both up there, and as we got further and further along, I could feel a warmth coming from it. Almost felt like a warm energy coming from my hands to my heart, and then just kind of went out from there. And when we first started, my chest was really tight, like it normally is, and just feeling anxious, more anxious than normal today for some reason. But now I feel good.
Yeah, so you notice something's changed as you worked with the practice.
Yes.
Yeah, great. And knowing these are things that we can cultivate in daily life through this, just remembering, this capacity that we have to lean into these qualities of the heart. Yeah, thank you. How did that feel? I'm sorry, I'm going to ask you one more question, Matt. How did it feel to allow yourself to be with those feelings?
It felt good. That's another thing that I'm working on, is allowing myself to feel, allow myself feelings, and yeah, not to go too deep, but that's something that I haven't done before. And so uh, I've been working on it with my counselor recently, but this tonight, seeing that I have control over it, seeing that it's something as simple as affirming to myself, it's really encouraging that that you can just do that.
Right, right. Provide ourselves some space. Yeah, thank you. And perhaps especially when it's hard, providing ourselves some space. Yeah. All right. Anybody else want to share about what that practice was like for you? All right. Well, I am aware of the clock, so I do want to make sure I get the rest of these things I wanted to touch on tonight, especially since this is our last evening together. So this idea of, being with, remembering our basic goodness. We've spent 3 weeks, tapping into, being kind of reintroduced perhaps to our internal world. And as I mentioned previously, sometimes there can be some disruption in coming back into that space that internal space and really giving ourselves permission to see, like, so what is going on here? You know, what is true for me in this moment? Sometimes that can be disconcerting, destabilizing maybe, and especially in relationship to when it's challenging. You know, one of the things we begin to understand or develop some understanding around is that there are feeling tones that tend to be present, and as human beings we tend to respond to them in predictable ways. As you become more familiar with your internal feeling states, you may begin to notice or have some awareness around the fact that there's really 3 feeling tones that we feel at any moment. One is a sense of things being pleasant, you know, that things feel good, and our capacity or our tendency as human beings when things feel pleasant oftentimes is to hold on to that pleasantness, you know, that we tend to grasp and grab at pleasantness because we don't want it to end. You know, we like feeling that feeling of pleasantness, however it's showing up in our bodies, in our hearts, and in our minds. And likewise, another feeling tone that we tend to experience is our unpleasant feelings, unpleasant feeling tones. And oftentimes our response to unpleasantness is to push it away. You know, we want to get rid of it, distract ourselves, not feel it. And then there's a sense of neutrality where things are neither pleasant nor unpleasant, right? And we start to become familiar with these qualities, these feeling tones that we walk around with. And as we gain more awareness around this, it also affords us some choice in terms of stepping out of habit. You know, that recognizing, oh, I'm feeling discomfort, that's why I'm pushing against this moment, and rather respond with curiosity and interest. Like, why is this showing up? You know, what are the conditions that are present that make this an unpleasant moment for me? Because there's information to be had, you know, that we can start to recognize our habits when we're attuned to these qualities of pleasant, unpleasant, and neutrality. So we can start to understand our habits of mind, our habits of behavior, and notice how they're often tied to these feeling states, these tones, these feeling tones. So I just want to start by pointing to that, these feeling states that we move through. And that's the other thing to notice, is that we move through these feeling states. They don't linger forever. You know, everything is impermanent. Everything is coming and going. So even when things are challenging and difficult, it's also temporary, right? And the idea is that we're really allowing things to move through us rather than pushing them down. You know, we don't want to deny what's happening. What we want to work on is the behaviors that show up as a result. Like, those are the things to refine, right? Those are the things that we can refine and have some choice around. But what we're learning how to do is allowing these things to move through us. And so tonight we've been looking at feeling more of our heartfulness, our basic goodness, recognizing that as things come and go, you know, there is a basic fundamental goodness that we all have, and remembering that. And I think I've said this here before, you know, to move away from this, what I refer to as shoulding on ourselves, shoulding on our lives, suggesting that things should be anything other than how they are or how we are. You know, everything is a result of conditions. So it's really about developing awareness around what conditions are present for us. And in the midst of that, recognizing as well our basic goodness, fundamental goodness, and tapping into that, using it as a form of resourcing, remembering. So when we think about this, it's really about developing a sense of acceptance, right? This idea of non-judgment is also about this openness and acceptance of things the way they are, things being the way they are, whether that's what's happening internally or externally. And we build this through this capacity of mindfulness, being aware, and also cultivating compassion. And that's being present with our suffering or the suffering of someone else. You know, to recognize it's there, to be aware of difficulty, and then being active about trying to ameliorate it, right? How do I soothe myself? How do I meet my suffering with compassion? How do I meet the suffering of the world with compassion? But I really want to focus tonight on how we meet ourselves with compassion when it's hard. Because there will be times when it's hard. There will be times when it's challenging. And also allowing ourselves, actually, as I say that, allowing ourselves to also feel the goodness. You know, giving ourselves permission to feel our goodness, the pleasantness of not life, without getting hooked on the idea that it needs to always be that way, right? But allowing ourselves to savor the moments that feel good without clinching tightly to them, but not ignoring them either. But let me get back to this idea of compassion, because I really want to talk about this idea of self-compassion. So self-compassion is offering self-kindness to ourselves rather than judgment. So caring about ourselves, caring about what's happening for ourselves, and treating ourselves accordingly. Actively taking measures to soothe ourselves. And I'm not talking about doing things that numb ourselves, but actively learning how to soothe and understand our nervous systems, understanding why things are the way they are, and seeing where we have the ability to take action. And recognizing as well that the suffering we experience is part of the human condition. You know, none of us are going to get out of this experience of life without experiencing suffering. It's part of the deal. You know, pain is part of the deal. Suffering to some extent is part of the deal. And recognizing that we're not alone in that. You know, this is a human phenomenon. It's not exclusive to us. You know, sadness permeates every human's life. Loss permeates every human's life. Grief, anger, all of it. The full, what John Kabat-Zinn refers to as the full human catastrophe, is availed to us all. And I think it's important to remember that we're not alone when it's challenging. So it's not abnormal to face difficulty. And in a sense, not getting over-identified with what's happening, you know, recognizing that things just are as they are and they're passing through, and there's impermanence present in whatever we're experiencing. But to be aware, like to have some awareness around these moments of challenge. So in your packet this week, there is a self-compassion break. It's a short way to nurture ourselves in the moments that we're aware that suffering's present. And it has 3 components. It's developing the awareness around the suffering, remembering our common humanity, that we're not alone, and then providing ways of nurturing ourselves. That could be through, you know, kind words that we say to ourselves, encouragement that we provide ourselves, care that we give ourselves, but meeting challenge with heartfulness rather than judgment and criticism. So look for that in your packet. And then finally, I just want to briefly kind of review what we've gone over in the last 4 weeks So our first week of class was becoming reoriented to our bodies and finding some ways in daily life to break out of habit and move into more awareness around activities in our daily lives where we may typically check out. In week 2, we learned about having an anchor for our awareness practice. So we did awareness of breath. And we also talked about perception and how our thoughts are often really tied to how we perceive what's happening. You know, that our perception are really lenses that we see our lives through, but it doesn't necessarily reflect the full truth of what's happening. And oftentimes our thoughts are tied more to our history than what's actually happening in the moment. So getting some awareness around this idea that our perception is often driven by our thinking and our beliefs, what we think is possible, what we think our capacity is, how we see the world. You know, those things are informing our perceptual lenses that we see through. And last week we talked about developing greater awareness around our thoughts and feelings and recognizing that these are just transient states that come and go, and that we can be more of a witness to them, right? That we can have more of a awareness around their comings and goings rather than being hooked by them. And that stress is really a relationship that we have. It's a transaction that we have with our environment. And it's once again really tied to how we're perceiving and assessing what's happening. And once again, when we develop some awareness around our thoughts and belief systems, how we're orienting to our experience, that we can actually have greater choice around how we respond to stress. And then finally this week, you know, cultivating the heart, developing this friendliness towards ourselves and our lives, and moving away from judgment that really creates a push, another form of stress or suffering into our lives, and meeting what's happening, whether that's what's happening internally or externally, with a sense of kindness and friendliness. And that being kind of the beginning of this opening of this heartfulness, this non-judgmental, accepting awareness. So that is it for me. We're at 8:01. I'm happy to stick around for a couple of minutes if anybody has any questions or wants to share anything. I'm happy to be available to you for a few more minutes. I don't want to keep you either, so however you want to do that.
I just want to thank you to you, Amy, and thank you to you, Mike, and Warriors Ascent for putting this on, and really hope and look forward that this next set of classes will come to fruition soon.
Yes.
We're still a go for mindful parenting, right, Amy?
Oh, yes. So next week is mindful parenting. Yes.
Yep, already registered.
And then yeah, and you're talking about the more 8-week trajectory that we've been. Yes, I hear you. And we'll definitely get more information out to you guys about that when we've got things more nailed down. But yes, next week is mindful parenting for any parents that are here. And then the following week is the heart of mindfulness as well. And if by chance, the one other thing I do want to mention to everybody that's here this evening is that if by chance the 8-week class isn't an option or the upcoming classes aren't options for you, I do have a community practice group that I'm leading online every Thursday. We'll probably be doing that at least through the month of June, but it's an opportunity, a place for you to land weekly if you want to continue practicing as well. And it's from 7 to 8 p.m. and it's donation based. But I just want to let you guys know about that as well. You can feel free to email me if you'd like to learn more about that as well. And we will reach out to the group with more information about the 8-week class when we get that nailed down.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you for your participation. It makes all the difference. It really does.
You're welcome.
Any other Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying you're welcome.
Okay. Anybody else want to share before we call it an evening? All right. Well, I thank you for your presence. I thank you for your participation. I thank Mike and Warriors Ascent for providing me this opportunity to put these practices in front of you. And I do hope they continue to benefit you.
Amy, thank you.
My pleasure.
Absolutely. And guys, gals, thanks so much for your participation. As always, as Amy points out, when you've got people that are invested, they're involved, they're participative, makes it so much nicer. It really does. And when you hear, not that, we're saying, oh, tell us how awesome it is. But when we do hear that, hey, this has really helped me, that I know does me good, because it's like, all right, hey, I'm not wasting my effort here. And I know similarly, Amy shared with me, not to speak for her, but I know she's shared with me, that, yeah, it really does help when you hear, hey, man, mindfulness is really, these webinars have really kind of helped and made a difference. That for an instructor, I think is everything. So appreciate it.
All right. May you all be blessed. May you
Absolutely.
all be happy and peaceful.
So we'll see you next Wednesday.
Yes, next Wednesday, 7 to 8 p.m. for the Mindful Parenting. If you're interested, let people know as well. It's always helpful.
Yeah.
All right.
Spread the word. Get more registrants. Amy, thanks so much. Everyone, have a great week. Have a great weekend. We'll see you.
Thanks, you too.
Take
Bye-bye.
care. Bye.
Thank you. Have a good week.
Thank you. You as well.